Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanachhalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamayyam Dadati Sapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Rajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Raghunath Samnam Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Samnamne Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisheshunyavadi Paschat Kam Karoti Vachalam Angum Langhete Girim Yat Kripatam Bhavamande Shri Gurum Dintaranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Hare Krishna. So we are continuing our discussion on the process of devotional service. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is instructing Sanatana Goswami in the path of sadhana bhakti. We are still on the 22nd chapter of the Madhya Lila. This chapter we have been doing for quite a few classes, if you recollect. And the reason why there is so much discussion is because these teachings, Sanatana Shiksha, form the core of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. All that we are, the most basic of the understanding of bhakti. And in this particular section, the understanding with respect to abhideya, the process of devotional service. So for sadhakas like us, this is our go-to point. Because even in Bhagavad Gita, even in the Srimad Bhagavad, though bhakti is described, bhakti by itself as a practice is not analyzed as systematically as it is done in these pages of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So in the last class we had started the topic of the discussion of the 64 items that constitute the practice of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. And we had covered only 20 and we said the remaining 40 we will cover today. So before I start from item 21 and go to item 64, rather than just walking you through a list, I want to give you a slightly bigger picture. This is a very important understanding. So when we talk about the practice of bhakti, there is sambandha, abhideya, prayojana. Prayojana is our ultimate goal, which is love of God. Sambandha is the understanding of our relationship, and abhideya is the process. So when a devotee, or rather a living entity, decides with some great blessing of having developed faith in the process of devotional service, wants to practice, the Shastras explain that his practice of bhakti goes through three stages. So I want you to not lose sight of the bigger picture. There is sadhana bhakti, there is bhava bhakti, and there is prema bhakti. I have briefly mentioned this in the previous classes. I want to re-emphasize this. The living entity starts with sadhana bhakti, then sadhana bhakti is the uh, school and college, junior college. Then bhav bhakti is like the degree, and prem bhakti is PhD. So one has to go through it sequentially. One cannot jump. If one suddenly sees somebody who has jumped to some level, that means from previous lifetimes. Rupa Goswami says he has already been practicing. Sometimes you wonder, oh Prabhu, I have been 30 years, I'm still struggling to focus my mind on chanting the holy name. This person is suddenly so ecstatic and he's showing so many advanced symptoms. That simply means that he has been practicing for many lifetimes earlier. And now he has suddenly resumed. So we should not be too surprised. But this is the sequence. Sadhana bhakti, bhava bhakti, prema bhakti. Now, what is sadhana bhakti? This is very important. Before I get into what is sadhana bhakti and get into the details, let's have a quick definition of sadhana bhakti, bhava bhakti, and prem bhakti. Sadhana bhakti means bhakti in practice. What does bhakti in practice mean? I'm explaining in very simple words. You still don't have spiritual love for the Lord, but you're practicing bhakti. You are executing the limbs of bhakti, acting like a devotee with the hope that you will come to the point of developing your spiritual emotion towards Krishna. Bhava. Bhava is the development of spiritual emotion. Bhava is not the state of mind. Bhava is not just a material emotion. Right now, sometimes we feel very devotional. Oh, I'm feeling very devotional towards the Lord. I'm feeling so much. So all these things, emotions, even if they are devotional, they are still of the nature of the material mind. They may come from the platform of spiritual faith, but they are not yet technically spiritual emotions. They are not directly emanating from the soul. They are still at the level of the mind and emotions. So sadhana bhakti is when spiritual emotion has not yet come, one is practicing so that spiritual emotion comes. So when spiritual emotion actually comes from the soul, that is the stage of bhava bhakti. Bhava is spiritual emotion. And bhav, when it matures, is the full development of love for the Lord. It is known as prema bhakti. Okay, I hope you are clear. Huh? Sadhana bhakti in practice, sadhana bhakti with transcendental emotions, and uh, sadhana bhakti is bhakti in practice, bhava bhakti is bhakti with transcendental emotion, and prema bhakti is bhakti with pure love. So as you can figure out, in the 9 steps of devotional service, Adav Shraddha, Tatha Sadhu Sangha, Atha Bhajan Kriya, Anartha Nivrutti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti. Up to this point is sadhana bhakti. Then there is bhava, there is prema. Okay, so out of the 9 stages, first 7 are sadhana bhakti, then there is bhava and prema. Bhava bhakti and prema bhakti. Bhava bhakti itself is also already on the platform of liberation. Unless one has crossed the point of overcoming the influences of the modes of material nature, one cannot experience or manifest the development of spiritual emotions. Development of true spiritual emotions which come from the soul, not from the material mind, is a post-liberation phenomenon. Is a post-liberation phenomenon, which means by that time one is already liberated from the modes of material nature. So having given that idea, now I want to come back to sadhana bhakti because that's where we are. So what is sadhana bhakti? And what are the types of sadhana bhakti? This is very important. Why? Because for us, sadhana bhakti is what is relevant. What is sadhana bhakti? Prabhu, I am not yet devotee. I want to be a devotee. I have faith in devotional service. So what should I do? The answer is practice sadhana bhakti. What is sadhana bhakti? Two things. Practice of bhakti with one's body and mind. Execution of the limbs of bhakti with this material body and mind. Why are we doing that? We are doing that because through the execution of the limbs of bhakti with this material body mind, this sadhana, this practice, our objective is that eventually bhava will be developed. How come bhava will be developed? Like what we discussed, that through the practice of bhakti, when our hearts become pure, gradually, after purification of heart and through the blessings of great souls, bhava will develop in the heart. This bhava is not just coming through practice. Practice is important to do our part in it, but ultimately bhava comes through the blessings of the pure devotees of the Lord. Because that bhava is not just about any emotion. The bhava is that, especially in our line, that we develop a bhava to serve Radha and Krishna in a particular way. So this is not just a generic feeling of devotion, but it is a specific mood, devotional emotion of love for Krishna in a very, very specific way with a very, very specific relationship. So it's a very high level. And it is only at the platform of bhava and prem that true bhakti begins. Because to actually serve Krishna, Krishna is spiritual. So actual service to Krishna can only happen at a spiritual platform. Krishna does not enjoy matter. Actual service to Krishna happens in the spiritual world with a spiritual body where everything, including whatever is involved in the service and whatever is enjoyed by Krishna, is of the nature of Krishna, which is spiritual. In the stage of sadhana, the devotee is offering various items to the Lord through the material body and senses, and maybe even material things. But Krishna, seeing the sincerity of his faith, is accepting his devotion. Bhava Grahi Janardana. Krishna doesn't directly enjoy anything material. Because Krishna is spiritual. He's never attracted to any kind of matter. But Krishna accepts the devotional sentiment. It is not yet bhava. It is a devotional sentiment which is rooted in transcendental faith. The faith is transcendental. But the service is executed with the material body and mind. That is sadhana bhakti. So within sadhana bhakti, there are two parts. Sadhana bhakti, which is bhakti in practice, according to the regulative principles, Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. Vaidhi comes from the word vidhi. Vidhi means rules and regulations. And raga anuga sadhana bhakti. Two ways to execute sadhana bhakti. Even though sometimes people think that there is Vaidhi and then there is Raganuga, actually the way the Shastras describe and the way Chaitanya Charitamrita describes here, that there are two ways. Either one takes the path of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti or one takes the path of Raganuga. Yes, it is possible also that at one point Vaidhi may mature into Raganuga. Yes, that is possible. But in general, there are two distinct paths in sadhana. So any bhakti before one reaches the stage of bhava is of sadhana. So all of us here are sadhana bhaktas. So what is the qualifications? First, before we get into a little detail between what is Vaidhi and what is Raganuga. Raganuga will not be discussing today. Raganuga bhakti will be discussing the next class because that's the topic after the 64 items are covered. So I'm not going to go into that. But Raganuga bhakti, just to understand at a high level, while Vidhi bhakti or Vaidhi bhakti is bhakti according to regulative principles, Raganuga bhakti means bhakti which is not impelled by the prescriptions of following certain rules and regulations, but which is naturally coming from the heart, spontaneously coming from the heart, with a great desire to serve Krishna in a particular way or mood. Now, that is not very easy to achieve. How that is achieved, how that spontaneous attraction is achieved, how that is practiced is a very big and a very exalted topic. So we'll briefly discuss that in the next class. We'll not go into that now. It is where one wants to serve Krishna with a greed to follow in the footsteps of one of the residents of Vrindavan. Oh, I want to serve Krishna. I am so attracted to this mood of this Subala Sakha and how he serves Krishna. I want to follow in his footsteps. I want to serve Krishna like him. Or I want to serve Krishna like Mother Yashoda. I want to be one of the assistants of Mother Yashoda. So one's whole cultivation of devotional service and one's approach to sadhana bhakti is according to that, is anuga of that raga, is following the footsteps of that raga. That raga, that intense attachment to Krishna, which is present in a raga atmika bhakta, one of the eternal residents of the spiritual world. So I hope you get the idea that this is not something which we are very qualified to discuss. At least not right now. So we'll briefly discuss a bit more on this the next time. Let's come back to the first category, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and Raganuga. So Vaidhi, let's focus on Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. So Sadhana Bhakti we discussed is the practice of bhakti with the material body and mind. Of course, pure bhakti. What does pure mean? Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhakti uttama. Uttama bhakti means pure bhakti, shuddha bhakti. Uttama. Uttama means transcendental. Why it is transcendental? Because it is jnana karmadi anavritam, not covered by fruitive desire or desire for liberation. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam, where one has a positive inclination to please Krishna. Of course, this definition of Shuddha Bhakti applies not just to Sadhana Bhakti, it applies to Sadhana, Bhava and Prema. The quality of love, the quality of Krishnanushilanam increases from the stage of Sadhana to Bhav and to Prem. But the essential definition is the same. And the basic substance of that essential definition is that one has no other desire other than serving and pleasing Krishna. That is the basic bottom line. No other desire. Anya bhilashita shunyam. Shunya means zero. One is not worshipping Krishna because he wants something material. One is not worshipping Krishna because he wants liberation. One is simply worshipping Krishna because one is convinced Krishna bhakti kaile sarva karma krita hai wo. That is the greatest perfection of my existence, to simply engage in Krishna's service. There is no higher dharma than this. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vrajaham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami ma shucha. One has strong faith in the statement of Krishna. That one who serves Krishna without any motivation, it is not needed for him to do anything else. No other sadhana is needed. One is not dependent on karma or jnana or anything else. Simply the execution of bhakti is adequate. Shraddha shabde vishwasha kohe sudruda nishchay Krishna bhakti kaile sarva karma krita hai. Having that strong faith. Actually, if you look at the works of the great acharyas, especially Jiva Goswami, when he comments on Rupa Goswami's definitions, and Chaitanya Charitamrita also says, not here but elsewhere, that a person, the real qualification to practice sadhana bhakti is to have faith in this statement. Krishna bhakti kaile sarva karma krita hai. Who is bhakti adhikari? Who is qualified to practice sadhana bhakti? Who is qualified? And we are talking about sadhana bhakti, which is Shuddha Bhakti. When we are talking about sadhana bhakti, this bhakti is referring to Shuddha Bhakti. We are not talking about mixed bhakti here. We are not talking about ritualistic devotion. We are not talking about karma mishra bhakti, jnana mishra bhakti. We are talking about Shuddha Bhakti. Shuddha Bhakti can be practiced at the sadhana stage also. How? I just explained. If you are worshipping Krishna, not with a fruitive mentality, with no other expectation from him other than wanting to serve him and please him, anya bhilashita shunyam jnana karma dhyanavritam. Even though you may not have developed bhava or prema, even though you may have not awakened devotional emotions, but if you are with strong faith in this statement, Krishna Bhakti, Kaile Sarva Karma Krita hai, one is engaging in the limbs of sadhana bhakti with faith and determination, and one is doing the sadhana of pure bhakti. So we are all expected to be here. Whether we are here or not is a question which you all have to ask yourself, or we all have to ask ourselves. Because this Shraddhavan Bhakta hai, Bhakti Adhikari. Is the Adhikari Shraddhavan Jana. Shraddha. And one thinks, oh, Shraddha means what? Faith. But this faith is not a cheap faith. Oh, I believe in Krishna faith. No. It is not I believe in Krishna. Oh, I like ISKCON faith. Oh, I like Prabhu. I like sometimes listen to Bhagavad Gita. I mean, all that is wonderful. But who is a qualified candidate to practice sadhana bhakti? Is a Shraddhavan, one who has strong faith. Rup Goswami, Nectar of Instruction, describes three levels of Shraddhavan. Kanishta Shraddhavan, Madhyam Shraddhavan, and Uttama Shraddhavan. And the Bhakti Adhikari is the Uttama Shraddhavan. Uttama Shraddhavan means one who has first class faith. First class faith. What is the meaning of first class faith? First class faith doesn't mean one has prem. We are talking about entry point into bhakti. We are not talking about the end point of bhakti. The entry point of bhakti, Shraddhavan. He who has the firm conviction, Krishna bhakti kaile sarva karma karta hai. So first thing we have to ask ourselves, do we have that strong faith? Because how that strong faith is developed is a different topic. We will not discuss that today. But this faith is the faith which is the Uttama faith, is faith which is strongly based on Shastra. Especially when we are talking about sadhana bhakti, Shraddhavan. And this is explained in Nectar of Instruction also. That the Kanishta Shraddhavan is somebody whose faith is very weak. Very easily. He may be attracted to bhakti a bit, but suddenly somebody says something else, talks about Osho. Next day he's listening to Osho. Third day somebody talks about some Mayavadi philosophy, then he's excited about that. So he's still walking through the buffet of spiritual life. He's not really focused on bhakti. Umala Shraddha, very weak faith. Then somebody who has intermediate faith, Madhyama Shraddhavan. You're not talking about Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, Uttam Adhikari. You're talking about Kanishta Shraddhavan, Madhyam Shraddhavan, and Uttam Shraddhavan. These are two different concepts. Madhyam Shraddhavan means he has strong faith, but he is not able to reason out his faith based on scripture. If somebody comes and asks him various twisted questions around scripture, scriptural codes, he's not expert in Shastra Yukti. But Uttam Shraddhavan understands his faith is rooted in Shastra and he can argue and defend his faith and even convince others about bhakti on the basis of scriptural understanding. Uttama Shraddhavan. So Uttama Shraddhavan is a bhakti adhikari for sadhana bhakti. So if you want to make serious progress in bhakti, first we have to come to Uttama Shraddhavan. So Uttama Shraddhavan is the one who is referred to in Adav Shraddha. Adav Shraddha. Initially one has faith. That Adav Shraddha has that three subdivisions. Kanishta Shraddha, Madhyam Shraddha, Uttama Shraddha. Only with Uttama Shraddha, when one does bhajan kriya with very strong sadhu sangha, then really the anarthas will go and one will come to nishtha. And then ruchi, and then asakti, and then go into bhava. Most of us are struggling between Kanishta Shraddhavan, Madhyam Shraddhavan. Madhyam Shraddhavan is also not an easy state to come. Even though at an external level we may be practicing the limbs of bhakti, but we don't have that strong faith. So anyway, that is giving you the bigger picture. So for a person to practice Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, what is Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti? Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti means practice of Sadhana Bhakti according to the vidhis. Vidhis from where? Where do the rules and regulations come from? They are from scripture and as instructed by the spiritual master. Vaidhi sadhana bhakti means the disciple with strong faith in scripture, following the injunctions of bhakti in the scripture, guided by a bona fide spiritual master, practices with discipline, meticulously and diligently, regularly, with faith, with determination, the limbs of sadhana bhakti with the objective of developing bhava. It's a long journey, that one, coming to the point of bhava. But if one has reached Uttama Shraddha and then practices bhakti, then the bhakti will produce much faster results. So now that we are talking about Vidhi Bhakti, Lord Chaitanya is explaining to Sanatana Goswami the stage of Vaidhi Bhakti, what are the 64 limbs based on scripture that bhakti can be executed with the material mind and senses. Okay, so that is the bigger picture. So out of the 64 limbs, the first 20 are considered basic, must follow. They are the absolute basic minimum. Otherwise, you're not even in sadhana bhakti. And 10 are do's, 10 are don'ts. I'm not going to go through the list again. We discussed this in the last class. The 10 do's are mainly around accepting the spiritual master, taking initiation, following his instructions, doing Ekadashi, worshipping the banyan tree, staying in a holy place, endeavoring to please Krishna, various items there. And 10 don'ts. Don't offend. Be careful. Don't be greedy. Don't accept too many disciples. Don't just go on cultivating knowledge for the sake of knowledge. So many other things. 10 do's, 10 don'ts. 20 items. Lord Chaitanya then says, after one is established in these 20 items, if one is established in these 20 items, nicely means one is established in the basic of bhakti. And mind you, what is the 20th item in the first 20 items, which is the basic entry point within sadhana bhakti, is neither by mind nor word should the devotee cause anxiety to any living entity, regardless of how insignificant he may be. Correct? So sometimes we think we are very great devotees, but we go around, causing so much violence. What to speak of other living entities, even to Vaishnavas, even to devotees. Harming them, criticizing them, offending them, conspiring against them. So if we are caught up in all this, then we have to assess ourselves where we stand on the ladder of devotional service. Krishna doesn't judge or doesn't assess, I shouldn't use the word judge. Krishna doesn't assess our advancement based on how big we have, position we have acquired in the institution. Oh, Krishna, Prabhu is temple president. Krishna is not going to say, oh, you're temple president. Then I must give you entry. Oh, you're GBC, so I must give you entry. Krishna's criteria is based on how we are executing the limbs of devotional service. What is the devotional character we have generated? The more we have developed true love for Krishna, the more we are non-envious, the more we are non-violent towards all living entities. Always thinking of the welfare of everyone and trying to be a humble servant of everyone. This is so essential. If we are struggling with this, we are really not going to be able to make significant practice. Significant progress. Okay. So after Lord Chaitanya is saying, we are now on verse 121 of this chapter, chapter 22. After one is established in devotional service by following the first 20 items, now one should do the next 40 limbs, which is actually service to Krishna. The first 20 are preparation. Take initiation, preparation. Tolerate difficulties. Don't be disturbed based on good and bad. Preparation. You have to prepare your consciousness. This is how your consciousness. You want to practice bhakti? This is how you should. After one is established in devotional service, then one starts the positive actions. The first 9. Now this is 21 onwards. First 20 we have covered. So we are going to discuss 44. I'll go through the list pretty quickly. I'm not going to go into too much detail because here is also a list. The purport Prabhupada explains or expands on each of them. So you can go through that separately when you directly read. The first 9 are the 9 limbs of bhakti. This is practice. 9 limbs of bhakti. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada, Sevanam, Marchanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. Hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, praying, serving, accepting servitorship, becoming a friend, and surrendering fully. 9 limbs. Then Lord Chaitanya expands the worship of the deity, the serving of the deity in more detail by expanding into aspects of archana or worship. So he says, item 10, one should dance before the deity. One should sing before the deity. This is also devotional service. Correct? We do Sankirtan, we sing bhajans in front of the Lord. That is also devotion. That is a part of sadhana bhakti. One dances in front of the deity. That is also opening one's mind to the deity. This is also a very important practice. We are sadhaka. Sometimes we have so many things in our heart. And there are so many things in our heart which we cannot tell to anybody. It's always nice and it's a devotional practice to reveal one's heart to the Lord. And then revealing the heart can be of various types. Oh Lord, I am so fallen. Just see, I want to be your devotee, but just see so much anarthas. I am so struggling with this. Please help me. Oh Lord, I'm in this difficulty. I'm dealing with these challenges. Please give me the right intelligence. What I should do. Please give me the faith that I am not disturbed by all these situations. So one can reveal one's heart. Prayer is also a form of revealing the hearts and requesting the Lord. Offering obeisances to the deity, another aspect. Standing up before the deity and the spiritual master to show them respect. So it is said that when the spiritual master arrives, one stands. It's a mark of respect to stand. So when the arati happens, the etiquette is one should stand. One is not sitting in the temple when the arati is going on. Following the deity or the spiritual master. Following the deity especially means when the deity is going on a procession, one should follow. When we go on a Rath Yatra, when we go on a Palaki procession. Many temples in India have regular daily Palaki processions. Follows the deity. That's a mark of respect. It's an aspect of deity worship. Visit different places of pilgrimage or to go and see the deity in the temple. That's also one of the limbs of devotional service. Lord Chaitanya continues, one should circumambulate the temple. When we circumambulate the temple of Vishnu, at least one should do 4 pradakshinas. That's what the Shastras recommend. Reciting various prayers in front of the Lord. Doing japa, also devotional service. To do Sankirtan, chant congregationally, also devotional service. To smell the flowers and the incense that is offered to the Lord is also a limb of Vaidhi sadhana. Eating the prasad of the Lord, the remnants of the food offered to the deity, honoring it. Say eat, but actually we are honoring Krishna's prasad. Ishaka Krishna Aswadido. This vegetable has been tasted by Krishna. Ah, so nice. Krishna's transcendental saliva is mixed in this dal. So the devotee's meditation is not how nice the dal is. He's thinking, how Krishna must have enjoyed this dal. This dal is so nice. And I can experience Krishna's mercy in this dal because it has touched his lips. Then Lord Chaitanya continues. One should attend the arati and festivals of the Lord. One should take darshan of the deity. When one goes to the temple, one should offer to the deity what is very dear to oneself. The conditioned soul's mentality for donation usually is whatever we don't want, we give as donation. But the right attitude is whatever is very dear. Because Krishna sees not what we give, Krishna sees what we hide. And he wants exactly what we are hiding, not what we are willing to give. Krishna is very smart. Anyway, so what Krishna wants to see, not that he wants to snatch away what is dear to us. Krishna wants to see how much we value him. That's the whole point. Huh? Because when we give to somebody some things which we don't want, that means we don't really value them. And we like something really, and we say, oh, this is so nice, this is so nice. Oh, this person I love so much, I will give this to him because it is nice for me, but I want him to enjoy. That is devotion. Another limb of bhakti, meditating on the deity. And also serve those who are related to the Lord. There are four limbs of bhakti here, serving those who are related to the Lord. Who are related to the Lord? Tadiya vastu. Tadiya means those which are related to the Lord. The most common that come in this category are four. Tulasi is Tadiya vastu, very dear to Krishna. That's why we regularly worship Tulasi. Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha. Krishna doesn't even accept Naivedya if it is not offered with. So Tulsi is Tadiya Vastu. Another Tadiya is the Holy Dham, the place where the Lord has appeared and performed his pastime. Another Tadiya Vastu is Bhagavatam. Actually, it is not just Tadiya, it is not different from the Lord. And so is the Holy Dham for the Lord. So worship and honor of Tadiya Vastu, the Lord's, the Tulsi, the devotees of the Lord, the Holy Dham, Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Chaitanya says Krishna is very happy to see these being properly honored and worshipped. Then Lord Chaitanya continues. I'm not giving the number. We have already covered 30 items out of the 44. Lord Chaitanya continues. One should perform all endeavors for Krishna. Krishnartha Akhila Cheshta. Sometimes we may wonder, Prabhu, how to do everything for Krishna? Huh? It doesn't make sense because I'm a family man. I'm not brahmacharya sannyasi. How can I do everything? Everything can be done in connection with Krishna. Even when we are doing our professional work, if we do it in the right consciousness that I'm doing this for Krishna, it may not be a direct service to Krishna, but ultimately it is meant to serve Krishna. For example, I'm giving a very simple example. Taking bath. Are we taking bath to please Krishna? I say, Prabhu, how can Krishna be pleased by my taking bath? How can this endeavor of taking bath be Krishna Bhakti? If we are taking bath, it doesn't matter whether it's in a tub, under a shower, or with a bucket and a pail, with the soap or shampoo or whatever. If you are taking bath with the consciousness that this body belongs to Krishna, it is to be used in service of Krishna. That is why I want to keep it clean and healthy. Then even the bath is a service to Krishna. Krishnartha Akhila Cheshta. Same way to brush the teeth. And if you extend this understanding, you can apply this understanding of how anything and everything that we may do can be connected to Krishna. Krishnartha Akhila Cheshta. So pure devotee is like that. Even though he may be a king, even though he may be a businessman, even though he may be an IT professional, a housewife, a student, it is possible to do Krishnartha Akhila Cheshta if one has the right understanding and one is focused on your devotional service, even if it is Vaidhi Sadhana. Another limb of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti is one should look forward to Krishna's mercy. What does look forward to Krishna's mercy? A devotee is always wanting and expecting Krishna's mercy. Not demanding, Krishna, you should be merciful. Not like that, expecting, oh Lord, Krishna will be kind. I'm waiting and expecting Krishna's mercy. Another limb is important festivals like Janmashtami, Ram Navami, etc. Whatever celebrations and ceremonies happen, one should participate. Then one should surrender to Krishna in all respects. Another point is one should observe particular vows to please Krishna. Example, Kartik Vrata. Lord Chaitanya says, these are some of the 64 important items of devotional service. And then Lord Chaitanya says, of all the items of devotional service, I am going to mention now 5 which are at most important. And these are so important that amongst the 64, these 5 are considered most prominent. If one practices even a little bit of any of these 5 without offenses, very quickly one awakens love for Krishna. What are these 5? Association with devotees, chanting the holy names, hearing the Srimad Bhagavat, residing at the holy dham, and worship of the deity form of the Lord with faith and respect. Lord Chaitanya especially tells Sanatana, one should worship Krishna's form with great faith. Regularly and with great taste, one should relish the meaning of the Srimad Bhagavat. So what we are doing right now is also one of the 5 limbs. What we are discussing is Bhagavat Katha only. What is Chaitanya Charitamrita? It is Bhagavat Katha only in relation to pure devotional service. And especially one should associate with devotees, and especially one should associate with those devotees who are more advanced than us and who have a mood like us. Now, this is also a very important indication. Sajatiya. In different places, this is hinted at. There are so many devotees, and one may respect and serve everyone. But when we take association, we must be careful to associate with those who have the right character and the right mood with which we are compatible. The word used there is one should associate. Sajatiya, the same word which I mentioned. And snigdhe. Snigdhe means they are very affectionate to us. Correct? Sometimes devotees may be advanced, but not all advanced devotees are necessarily affectionate to us. Some senior devotees are affectionate to us. One should develop a nice relationship, because in that way, the mercy will come to us, the guidance will come to us. Because such sadhus will help us. Here, sadhu doesn't necessarily mean a saffron person. also a sadhana, but a devotee who is more advanced than us. Rasikaihi saha sajatiya ashaye snigdhe sadhau sangha swataha vare. And that's how one can make oneself better. Swataha vare. Prabhupada in this purport says, don't just associate with professional reciters of Bhagavad. We are interested, one should not associate with Mayavadis, professional reciters, or those who simply dress as Vaishnavas or do kirtan just to earn money. No, we want to associate with those who are advanced in their practice of devotional service, whose faith is greater than us, whose taste in Krishna consciousness is greater than us, whose character is inspirational for us and is inspiring us to progress in devotional service. Lord Chaitanya also says, devotees should take the opportunity to chant congregationally Sankirtan. Sankirtan is the Yuga Dharma. And whenever possible, reside in the holy dham. Oh Sanatan, the power of these 5 principles is immense. It's very difficult to understand. Even if a devotee doesn't have faith, even if a person doesn't have faith, accidentally he performs any of these 5 items. If he does it offenselessly, can actually awaken dormant love for Krishna, even with little connection. When in this way one is fixed in the practice of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, and oh Sanatan, it is not necessary that each and every person has to do all 64. I have generally described the 64 ways or limbs in which devotional service can be practiced. Of course, the first 20 are considered like very basic and substantial, but it's not necessary that everyone has to do necessarily each and everything. But if one practices with faith, vidhi, regulation, under the instructions of the spiritual master with great determination, eventually the waves of love of God will awaken. For example, Lord Chaitanya says, even though I started with the description of 9 limbs of bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnoho, Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. It is not necessary that each person does all 9. There are many devotees who achieved perfection simply by taking exclusive shelter of one. Shukadev Goswami did Kirtan and he achieved perfection. Parikshit Maharaj did Shravanam and achieved perfection. Prahlad Maharaj did Smaranam and achieved perfection. Similarly, there is an example for all 9. Atmanivedan. Who achieved perfection through Atmanivedan? Anybody? The last item.
Bali Maharaj Prabhuji.
Bali Maharaj, yes. Right? We were discussing Bhagavatam. Who achieved perfection through Vandanam, offering prayers?
Dhruva.
Hmm?
Dhruva Maharaj. Maybe.
Anyone else? It is Akrura. Akrura achieved perfection through offering prayers. Lord Chaitanya says some devotees achieved perfection with only 1 limb, but there are devotees like Ambarish Maharaj who were expert in all 9. So the example Lord Chaitanya gives. Maharaj Parikshit for hearing, Shukadev by reciting, Prahlad by remembering, Pada Sevanam is Lakshmi Devi serving the lotus feet, Maharaj Prithu by worshipping the deity, Akrura by offering prayers, Hanuman by being a servant, Arjuna by being a friend, Bali Maharaj by dedicating everything to the Lord. But Ambarish Maharaj, these verses are quoted from the Bhagavatam. Ambarish Maharaj is glorified in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Savai manah Krishna padar vindayoho vachamsi vaikunta gunanu varnane karau harer mandir marjana dishu shrutim chakara achyuta satkathodaye mukunda lingalaya darshane drishau tadbhrityagatra sparshane anga sangamam घ्राणम च तत्पाद सरोज सौरभे श्रीमत्तुलस्या रसनम तदर्पिते पादौ हरे क्षेत्र पदानुसर्पणे शिरो ऋषिकेश पदाभिवादने कामं च दास्ये न तु काम काम्यया यथोत्तम श्लोक जनाश्रयारति. Wonderful set of three verses. Prabhupada quotes the beginning of this section of three verses so many times across his Bhaktivedanta purpose. And he quotes Ambarish Maharaj or gives the example of Ambarish Maharaj so many times. Maharaj Ambarish was always engaged his mind at the lotus feet of Krishna, his words in describing the spiritual world and the Supreme Lord, his hands in cleansing and washing the temple, his ears in hearing topics of the Lord, his eyes in seeing the deity, his body in embracing the Vaishnavas or touching their lotus feet, his nostrils to smell the tulasi and flowers offered to the Lord, his tongue to taste the prasad of the Lord, his legs to go to holy places and temples, his head to touch the lotus feet of the Lord and offering him obeisances, his desires to fulfill the desire, to faithfully serve the Lord, and so on and so forth. In this way, Maharaj Ambarish engaged all his senses in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, and as a result, he awakened through the sadhana bhakti his dormant, loving propensity to the Lord. Srila Prabhupada often comments that sadhana bhakti means by regularly practicing through the body and mind the limbs of bhakti, one's bhakti becomes awakened, the potential becomes awakened. Remember last class we gave this example of that the capacity to walk is inside the baby. What does he have to do to walk? He only has to try. He has to do the sadhana bhakti of walking. And in that sadhana bhakti, he will fall. The only way to awaken the capacity is to try to walk. There is no other practice. He doesn't have to do any other method. So the principle of sadhana bhakti is exactly the same. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoy Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karo. The potential to be a servant of Lord is always there within the living entity. And when one practices the limbs of sadhana bhakti, especially the 64 that we have discussed, not necessarily all 64, even some of the 64, under the guidance of devotees, spiritual master and scriptures, one can come to the stage of awakening spiritual love for the Lord. So if one gives up his materialistic tendencies and engages in the service of the Lord in this way, as guided by scripture, because these 64 items, Lord Chaitanya has not come up from his own mind. Of course, he is the Supreme Lord, so everything is from his mind, but it is an extraction of what the scriptures have said. Then simply that practice of devotional service is perfect. One has no other obligations to anybody, neither to the devatas, nor sages, nor the forefathers. Lord Chaitanya quotes a very beautiful and very famous verse. Devarshi bhutapta nrinam pitranam nakin karo nayam murnicha rajan sarvatmana yash sharanam sharanyam yato mukundam pariritya kartam. This is also a verse Prabhupada quotes so extensively across his various purposes. One who has given up all material duties and taken full shelter, please note the word full, or at the lotus feet of Mukunda, who gives shelter to all, is no longer indebted to the devatas, sages, ordinary living beings, relatives, friends, mankind, or even his forefathers who have passed away. Which essentially means Sarvadharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam. One has no other duties if one is perfectly engaged fully in serving Krishna. So one doesn't have to worry. That is also faith. Faith also means to not think, oh, I'm only serving Krishna. What happens if What this devata I didn't worship, oh I didn't do this, I didn't do that. If one is properly engaged in Krishna service, nothing else is required. In fact, so much so that while generally devotees follow the regulative principles according to Varnashram Dharma, if one is properly engaged in Krishna's service, even if one were to neglect some Varnashram principles, one doesn't incur sin. Actually, a pure devotee has no tendency to commit sin, but this indirect sin of neglect of material duties, if it is happening because of proper engagement in Krishna consciousness, one doesn't suffer reactions. Sometimes, even if a devotee accidentally commits a sin, Krishna purifies him. Happens, right? Sometimes we have fault, sometimes it just happens. Sometimes because of weakness, sometimes a devotee may commit a mistake. Lord Chaitanya says a devotee doesn't have to perform material prayaschitta. One should simply continue to execute Vaidhi sadhana bhakti just through the process of bhakti. Even any accidental sin, all the reactions will be burnt away. There is no need. The Lord will remove. Don't worry. Just get up and continue. So Lord Chaitanya concludes this section. We are about to end this section about Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. He says, for such devotees who are with faith engaged in the process of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, there is no need for them to take shelter of other processes like jnana and artificial renunciation. All good qualities that are needed for spiritual development automatically will come in the character of a person who is becoming a devotee of Krishna. In fact, Lord Chaitanya quotes a verse from the Srimad Bhagavad. He says, for one who is fully engaged in my devotional service, whose mind is fixed on me in Bhakti Yoga, doing Jnana and Vairagya separately, is actually not actually beneficial for him. Tasman mad bhakti yuktasya yogino vai madatmanah na jnanam na cha vairagyam praya shreyo bhavetyaha. This is a verse where Lord Krishna is instructing Uddhava in the 11th canto, 20th chapter, verse 31. Uddhava are not necessary. This bhakti, the practice of sadhana bhakti itself is so wonderful. When a Shraddhavan devotee does it, he doesn't have to worry about anything else. Good qualities, non-violence, and others will automatically come. There are so many wonderful examples, like great personalities, like Narad Muni. They talk about Mrigari the hunter. He was a hunter, but simply by taking to the process of devotional service, they developed the quality of non-violence. They were so violent, dacoits and murderers, but through the process of bhakti, their hearts became so soft, they didn't even want to step on an ant. Did he do anything special separately to cultivate non-violence? No. Simply through the practice of sadhana bhakti, all the good qualities of the devatas automatically develop in their heart and all envy disappears. Lord Chaitanya concludes this section. My dear Sanatan, I have now in detail described Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. Now hear from me about Raganuga sadhana bhakti and its characteristics. So we're going to stop here and we'll discuss about Raganuga sadhana bhakti in the next class. Thank you so much for patiently listening. Any questions, comments? We take you. Yes, Tarun Prabhu.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Dhanvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Prabhuji, I have one question.
A little louder.
Can you hear me okay, Prabhuji?
Speak a little louder.
Yeah. Prabhuji, I have one question. Just like you just now told ki Krishna ko prasad, how much Krishna has enjoyed when we are having prasadam, when we offered. So sometime on the operational standpoint, what happens after offering to Krishna, when we take prasadam, तब पता चलता है उसमें नमक कम हो गया, मिर्च ज्यादा हो गया. then the feeling becomes high. हमने कृष्णा को क्या offer कर दिया? How did he eat it?
That's
Can we
also
not
good.
just
That's also good.
can we not just taste first and then offer to Krishna so he will get right things? So,
So isn't it more better if we are more conscious that we cook properly? We shouldn't even have to enter the situation where if at the end of our cooking we are not sure whether I added salt or not, that means we were not very attentive in cooking.
hmm,
Correct? So as a precaution, if one thinks salt may be slightly less or more, then what devotees usually do is, and this we do even in common practice, right? Some people like more salt, some people like more mirchi. So on the plate also we put some salt separately, we put some mirchi also. Huh? So that's one way to do it. That's not so much so that we have forgotten salt, but for adjusting salt. Huh? I mean, for me personally, I like to keep some salt extra on my plate. I like items a little bit more salt than the typical salt levels in most food. I mean, that's just and in Indian tradition, it is very common when when the banana leaf is spread out, first salt is placed. Salt, limbu, mirchi, pickle, and then other items come, isn't it? But the point is, uh, yes, both sentiments are good. When we taste something and it tastes nice, Krishna Prasad, I'm saying, to meditate, oh, this is tasting, not just tasting from a taste bud, sweet, sour perspective, but the devotional relish that is coming by the tasting of prasad. They are appreciating that aspect
hmm,
of how Ehi Shaka Krishna Aswadido. Oh, this is not just ordinary vegetable. Krishna has tasted this. And I'm tasting something that Krishna has tasted and I'm experiencing Krishna through the taste. That is the meditation. Of course, if one has messed up the preparation, and one feels sorry about it. Oh, I didn't put this properly. I burned this. I didn't do this properly. Yeah, that's also good. That's also an aspect of devotion, huh? Isn't it? If we love somebody, if we realize that we made something for somebody not so nice, to feel bad is also an expression of love. So that's also okay.
hmm,
But what I'm saying is it shouldn't have to come to that. Accidentally, if that has happened, that's okay. If that's happening regularly, that means we are negligent in our service to Krishna. Correct? So love means attention.
hmm, okay,
Correct? So when we serve Krishna, attention is very important. We are Krishna conscious, being conscious. The same thing goes in japa. Conscious, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. But we are not conscious. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So then that will not give the same effect. It becomes a bit of a namaparad. We are all guilty of that. I'm not pointing fingers at others. We have to remind ourselves again and again. No, attention. Adarena khalusaiva jushtva. Adarena, with respect. Rupa Goswami says one must chant Krishna's name with adar, respect. And what is the most basic aspect of respect? Attention.
hmm, okay,
Correct? Huh?
hmm,
Now I'm talking to you, right? So let's say I'm talking to you. Of course, I'm talking to everybody, but I'm answering your specific question. As I'm answering your question, let's say you're looking around here and there. Then I will feel that you're disrespecting me, isn't it? Because you asked me a
hmm,
question, I am answering, you're not even listening. Ah, okay, Prabhuji, I'm answering, you're saying, Hari bola bhai. Yeah, Prabhu, I'll think, yeah, what is this? Arun really didn't mean even to ask me anything. He's not even listening to what the answer that I'm giving. So attention is important. So attention in seva, attention in chanting the holy name, attention when we are attending the class. So these are important. These are aspects of respect. These are aspects of appreciation of the Lord. Okay?
okay.
Jai Ho, you are all wonderful. So you are all very attentive to the best of my uh, observation. So wonderful. Just continue.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay, if nothing else, we will conclude. So I believe today is Tuesday. I think today Ekadashi was today for India, right? For, I think your fasting was today,
Yes,
right? So you
Prabhuji.
have your
Yeah, today is
breakfast tomorrow.
Ekadashi.
Okay. Our fasting was yesterday. Okay, so thank you, and I will see you on Saturday. Yeah, and Saturday we have concluded the 8th canto for those who didn't tune in. Last Saturday we will be beginning with the 9th canto. So 8 by 12 is done. So 2/3 is done. So another 4 cantos. Thank you very much, and thank you all for joining on a Tuesday evening. श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, चैतन्य चरितामृत की जय, सामवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की।
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
गोकुल
Prabhuji.
आनंद
Hare
समृद्धि माता जी,
Krishna.
मदन
Hare
मोहन प्रभु,
Krishna.
तरुण, सर्वलक्ष्मी
Hare
माता जी,
Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
धीर सुंदर प्रभु, श्री देवी माता जी, सीनी
Hare
माता
Krishna,
जी,
Prabhu.
हरिबोल, अर्चना
Hare
जी,
Krishna.
सूरज, शालिनी, अमित प्रिया, सुनील सोमाई, सुनील माधव प्रभु की जय। थैंक यू प्रभु।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु, थैंक यू प्रभु जी। तबियत
जय
कैसी
हो।
है प्रभु जी अभी? तबियत
Now it
कैसी?
has started paining after sitting for 1 hour.
हरे कृष्ण।
For your information, I broke my coccyx bone by
अरे
slipping and falling. So if I sit too long, it hurts me. I'm now adjusting my position. Hare Krishna. I'll walk around a little bit. Okay.